Hey, what the hell are you doing walking around dressed like Star Wars?
It's Comic-Con, you idiot. We're going to the Javits Center.
Well, you're the idiots, because you three guys would never be walking together.
Yeah, you're his boss, and you two guys are enemies.
Yeah, bite me, Captain Kirk.
Hey, whoa, come on. No, that's Star Trek.
Yeah, that's two different franchises.
Yeah, sorry, guys. She doesn't know.
Nah, it's okay. I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Let's go.
Oh, hey, come on. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Not worth it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. Got a fun match for you today. We got Kaiser Huang. Great player, great guy. He hasn't seen much success yet. He debuted earlier this season, looking to get a win on the record. But also, we got Chadwick Webb, who in his last match, he played a perfect game. It was pretty incredible. Chadwick, up to that point, also not having too much success. That was his first win on his record. So these players are both good players who just need to get some wins on the record. But Chadwick coming off a really epic win. Kaiser coming off of maybe the best match of the year with Mike. So who knows what could happen. Looking forward to this. Got Kirk and Payson here with me for this one. Kirk, how the hell are you? And what do you think of this match?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good, exciting match. Like you said, Chadwick's got a little momentum coming off his last match. Kaiser had a rough one. I don't think anybody saw what Mike did coming. So you really can't blame him for that, for getting a little blindsided. But I feel like, Chadwick has a chance to keep his momentum going, and Kaiser has a chance here to get kind of a confidence boost. Get that win against a player who's kind of hot right now. So either way, I'm excited to see the outcome here.
Payson, how are you? And there's not much else to add to the commentary of this match. I do want to know what you think, but I also want to know what you think of my brand new Sauron goblet.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm just going to comment on that first. That looks incredible, and I think that is awesome. I hope you are drinking a lot of wine out of that, my friend Tim, or beer, whatever liquor you put in. It's goblet, so wine. Yeah, I'm excited for this match. Chadwick, that perfect game was incredible. Few Fanzone matches I watched twice. I watched that one twice because there are just a lot of moments. One of the moments that just kills me so hard is when Chadwick was talking about Final Destination, the worst scene of Final Destination scene, and Chadwick just says, and the girls get naked, which is a plus, and then just starts going on. Like, I cannot tell you how much that made me laugh. And then, Kaiser versus Mike was infamous at this point, and I got to judge that, and I was dying the whole time. So I'm sure Kaiser's hungry for the win, but Chadwick probably wants to keep that momentum going. I'm excited. And yeah, cool goblet.
Yeah. All right, let's bring in the players. We'll talk to them. We'll start by talking to Kaiser. Kaiser, fantastic last couple matches, but ultimately didn't go your way. But you still had good arguments nonetheless, even in the losses. And now you're going up against Chadwick. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I am sick, so this is not going well for me already. And second of all, Tim, your Sauron goblet is cool. It's not as cool as my Game of Thrones goblet.
Oh, that one's pretty good too.
Mine is better.
I need a goblet.
Advantage me.
I'll have to pull out the Lord of the Rings shot glasses I also got. Well, Kaiser, good luck in the match as we bring in the high-ranked player, Mr. Webb, Chadwick Webb, representing something from England. And Chadwick, your last match, very impressive. It was one for the ages. Now you're here to play Kaiser. What are we thinking?
I'm thinking good thoughts. Apparently, I'm like Hansel. I'm hot right now. And I'm very excited to play Kaiser because, the guy knows a lot. I've seen him play trivia. He knows a lot. His debates have been very good. I've seen those. And I'm just excited to get into these questions because they're nuts. So
that is accurate. All right. So this is how it's going to work. There are going to be 4 prep questions based off of 4 categories that the players drafted. We gave them the questions. They're going to debate them tonight before our very souls. So Payson, Payson, Kirk, and I, I'm even skipping ahead. This is why I get confused. You guys are going to have a minute to open your argument, 5-minute freeform, 1-minute closing. Then Kirk, Payson, and I will write on our boards who we thought won the debate. 2 out of 3 votes wins you the point, and the first person to 3 points wins the match. Any questions as I stumbled all over that? Okay, let's get into it. All right. I just realized that I may have called Kirk Mark, but I think he's called me Nick a couple times, so I think we're all right. No, I love you. Okay, let's get into this. Here's how this is going to work. The first category was drafted by Chadwick, so we're going to start with that one. It is in the category of the Wizarding World. Your question is, which Wizarding World character would you most want to hang out with? All right, Chadwick, because you drafted this, you're going to start it. You get 1 minute to open your argument whenever you start talking.
This answer has to be one of the Weasley twins. So I went with George Weasley. He lives longer than Fred. He's slightly more chill, and he knows how to perfect comic relief in dark times, like when he claims to be holy. Regardless if you're hanging with both twins or just George, you're basically guaranteed a good time. George is a blast. He's funny and spontaneous, so hangs with him could never be boring. He's always trying to find secret passages, break rules, plan new schemes, so you could find yourself with many stories to tell about your adventures with George. Weasley Wizard Wheezes would be an incredibly fun place to hang in because you can try so many jokes, gags, and pranks. He might take you outside to see some fireworks, play some Quidditch, even sneak into a Quidditch match. George is spontaneous, so you never know what you're going to get with him. You could get into trouble, but the fun kind, which is incredibly exciting, and you know George would be able to deploy some fun distraction to get you out of trouble. Never underestimate the funny stories you can hear from George and fascinating conversation about his time at Hogwarts or how he developed some of his Wheezes products. George Weasley would be the best hang. Hands down.
All right, time. All right, we are going to move over to Kaiser. Kaiser, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
You know, when you want to hang out, you want quality time. And you know what is quality time? Hang out with a magic zoologist who can take you to any place in the world, see very wonderful stuff, have a lot of fun with animals, you know, explore new stuff, and you know, just have fun just hanging with him and exploring the wide wonders of the magical world. Like, you know, hanging out is supposed to be fun. And what's more hanging out? Just going to explore new stuff and with a very chill guy. Yeah, I think it's pretty fun to hang out with Newt Scamander.
Okay, ending a little early. We're going to bring in Chadwick. You guys are now going to have 5 minutes to freeform debate. I will throw up the 1 minute warning when the time comes. I will throw up the let your opponent talk. If you're, not letting your opponent talk, don't make me do that. It makes me very sad. All right, 5 minutes when one of you starts off.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think Newt is a weird pick. I don't think he's a people person. I don't think he likes people all that much. He barely makes eye contact. It feels like it would be a lot of work to hang out with Newt. Like, even when Jacob Kowalski hangs out with him, it seems like Kowalski's pulling a lot of the weight in the fun department, in the department of laughter. Like, the only time Kowalski really laughs a lot is when he's drinking giggle water, it feels like, because Newt is just so focused on his animals, almost too much focused on his animals. And honestly, it feels like because of those animals, he sometimes puts his friends in danger. And I don't think you want that, Kaiser.
What I would say about that is, I think even though, yes, you say Newt is it's very hard to approach on the surface, but as we can see with Jacob and as we can see with Tina and with Queenie, once you get to know him, he's actually someone who is very good to hang out with because he actually cares about his friends a lot. And then you said Jacob didn't really have a lot of fun with him. I disagree. Maybe because Jacob is a muggle, but when he first encountered Newt's animals, he was struck by wonder, and when he first entered that Newt's magical case, he was having a lot of fun. So that is on Newt Scamander. My problem with George is that he is part of a comedy double. When Fred is not there, there's not really a lot of evidence to show that his comedy is like his 5 most well-known gags in the whole of the Wizarding world involves twins, like the bearded guy, like the Asylum Porter scene, it all relies on Fred being there. George as a solo act, not convinced.
I mean, I think that's a pretty weak argument just to say that because we don't see a lot of George post, Fred's death, that he's suddenly not going to be funny anymore. He's suddenly not going to own his joke shop and create jokes and have fun with a lot of people. I mean, we know that George just himself is a social butterfly. He will take you under his wing and, introduce you to so many people. With Newt, I just feel like, you say it takes a lot of time for you to get to know Newt to be able to hang out with him. I just don't feel like that's evidence that he's going to be the best hang, because you have to put in a lot of work to getting, something out of Newt. Whereas, with George, it'll be an immediate kind of thing. He's always running around, hanging out with people and, the life of the party and joking around and having a great time.
My response today is by hanging with someone, I'm already under the assumption that I know the person a fair deal. So the journey together doesn't really matter to me. And also the problem with Fred and George is that, yes, even though like what they do is an essential part of the magical world, in that they bring more fun to it, ultimately they are constrained to their joke shop in terms of what you can do with them. With Newt, it's constrained to the whole wide world. You can go everywhere with him. You can go to China, you can go to Africa, you can go to the wilds of Arizona to see Frank the Thunderbird. There's a lot of things that I can do with him. Whereas with Fred, and whether with George, it's mostly just constrained to the joke shop and what he did during Hogwarts, which is a bit limiting.
I don't think that's fair at all. I mean, just because he owns a joke shop doesn't mean that he's confined to the barriers of the joke shop. You can really go anywhere with George. And if you want to go out and practice some of the jokes and stuff like that, of course, George is going to go around trying to, figure out the best ways to, exploit certain things and break rules and kind of just have fun, with magic, in different interesting ways that you've never even seen before. With Newt, sure, maybe you can go on an adventure, but like I said, I think with Newt, it's often very dangerous. When you're with him, he doesn't really have, the will to explain things to people, so he might actually try to use you as bait in order to capture one of the creatures, and then, he's going to be like, all right, Kaiser, sit there, this giant thing might try to hump you, but don't worry about it. It's not going to hump you. I'm going to catch it before it does. And you just have to trust that he's got your best interest at heart. And it's like, well, is that really the hang you want, Kaiser?
What I will say in response to that is not exactly true. Newt still explains every single animal to Jacob and warns him explicitly of the dangers. It's not his problem if Jacob fails to follow them because he's a bit slow. That's not his problem. And then second of all, you're talking about dangerous, like Fred and George's pranks put let people in trouble because they experiment illegally on them. It's equally dangerous, and arguably even more so because they don't know what they are doing.
Jokes? Other than bullies, maybe.
That's not true. They actually
They don't hurt anyone. But Newt put his friends in danger.
Time. Okay. All right. We're gonna start with Kaiser for closings. Kaiser, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I think what comes down to is George and Newt Scamander, I think, are two people who are lucky enough to have their professions as their hobbies, and so hanging out with them is pretty much preferring which hobby do you prefer. And I personally prefer hanging with Newt because exploring magical creatures is just more fun and something that is I think is very meaningful to do and more fun to do, rather than just hanging with George, which is George mostly deal with pranks related to that's funny to people who are still in school and to teenagers. So that to me isn't really fun and good to hang out with at my age. So I prefer Newt.
Okay, ending early once again. All right, we're gonna bring in Chadwick. Chadwick, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I don't know, man. I'm as a Muggle, I'd be interested in any kind of jokes or anything, any fun things that George has up his sleeve. Newt Scamander's an interesting pick, but he does go on adventures and finds cool animals, but I don't think he would be a good hang. Firstly, he doesn't seem to like people all that much. He seems to prefer to be alone with his animals. He's nice, so he wouldn't tell you to leave, but you might not feel wanted. He's also bad at explaining things, so you can end up trapped in a suitcase, or he gets distracted by an animal. You could end up being in big danger, maybe get bitten. I don't know. He also tends to get wrapped up in these big Wizarding World plots that seem more dangerous than fun. He just doesn't have the same fun, charismatic vibes as George Weasley. Newt could be an okay hang in the right context, but George would be an incredible hang in any context. Unlike Newt, George is a social butterfly, take you under his wing, you have a great time. It'll be his mission to give you a good time. If it's not about animals, Newt is generally uninterested, but George would be most interested in trying to make you laugh and show you some cool stuff. Newt likes to hang out in solitary, but George is the life of the party. George easily for the win.
Sorry. Okay. All right. It's going to bring in the judges.
Line that a player said in their closing argument that made me a little uncomfortable, but I'll say it when votes are on.
Wait, what did I say?
Wasn't you?
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm ready. Payson looks ready. Kirk, how you doing? Okay. Good start. Both are knowledgeable at the wizarding world. We know that that's Chadwick's bread and butter. Kaiser obviously is good with most fandom related items. I went with Chadwick though. This was close. In the sense that I think both did really good jobs explaining their side. Of why they think their character would be the best to hang out with. I think where it came down to was I think Chadwick did a really good job nailing down why Newt would not be that pick, kind of dismantling Kaiser's argument. I thought he did a really good job of kind of saying, like, especially in the closing, like, it could be kind of dangerous, like, and really the antisocial thing, like, really hit, where being like, he would be like, he's too nice to say good, like, get out, but you get the feeling like he doesn't want you to be there. So I thought Chadwick did a good job kind of taking that down, and none of Kaiser's like anti-George stuff really worked for me. So Kirk, your thoughts?
These hangout questions are tough because we have a finite amount of time we spend with these characters, and you're trying to extrapolate what life would otherwise be like with them outside of those situations. And it's hard because, you assume they're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff. So you kind of have to make it about that. And I think I went with Chadwick because I think he did the best job where Kaiser was really making some good points about the things Newt does. Chadwick did a better job about making it about the people, regardless of the situation. I think Kaiser had the seeds of a few good arguments. I wish he would hit more about how George is basically part of a team, and without Fred, how well is his stuff going to hit? And also at the end when he started talking about how, Fred's, this kind of stuff Fred's is into isn't really, or George is into really isn't like entertaining for adults. If he had also, Chadwick kept saying Newt was how dangerous could be. I wish Kaiser would have said something along the lines of, George gets hunted by Death Eaters, so there's also a possibility of danger there. I would like to hear more about that. But Kaiser made some good points for Newt. I just think Chadwick kind of controlled the argument with his points better.
All right, Payson, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Clean sweep. Really good argument, but I do think Chadwick just did win me over. I think he just did a better job at just knocking against Newt and saying that while Newt's lifestyle might be cool, like how Kaiser was saying, is that really something you want to hang out with? And I think the main point that I think Chadwick really nailed down was George is someone that is super outgoing, who is a social butterfly, who will try to keep you, who through the evidence of the movie does try to interact with people. Newt is someone that is always much more interested in the animals. And while that can be cool as an observer, if you're really just like hanging out with them, is that really going to be super fun? I will say Chadwick did make me a little uncomfortable when he said it's George Weasley. With George Weasley, it's his mission to please you. I was like, whoa. But other than that, I think it's really solid.
Oh my God. All right. Thank you, Payson. Thank you, Payson. Thank you, Kirk. All right. We're going to move on to the next question. This was drafted by Kaiser in the category of family films. Your question is, which post-2000s non-fandom family film has the best villain? Kaiser, you are going to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Oh yeah, so I picked Gaston from the live action Beauty and the Beast, mostly because I feel that Luke Evans really brought a lot of what I felt like Gaston was to the movie. Like Gaston is supposed to be like, even aside from the big burly, very menacing villain, which Gaston definitely was, and what Luke Evans definitely brought to the table. What Luke Evans especially brought to the table was charisma and especially interest, because I felt that the live action Beauty and the live action Belle by Emma Watson was a bit bland in the movie. But what Luke Evans did in that performance was he managed to counteract that and instead make himself a very interesting villain, and actually he elevated the movie as a whole by providing such a nice contrast to Belle that I felt that he was actually like the best villain performance of the movie, and actually genuinely a very good villain performance. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going to move over to Chadwick. Chadwick, you have 1 minute to tell us your answer. Go ahead.
Everyone has that feeling of being loved by their mother. As you grow up and learn new things, your mother is the person who provides you a warm sense of comfort and safety. When this relationship between mother and child is perverted or distorted, it's scary. The other mother from Coraline is the best villain because she appears to be warm, comforting, and giving until she wants to sew buttons into your eyes. She actually wants to take everything from you. At first, she seems like an idealized version of the perfect mother, but then she turns into something controlling, manipulative, monstrous, and evil. This is how Coraline feels, and she regrets taking her real mother for granted. The other mother stole, tortured, neglected, and killed children before Coraline, so the stakes are high with her. She created an entire dimension for this purpose, to steal children she could never have herself. Her true motivation is only speculative, which is also scary. She manipulates the world and the other father to control and attack Coraline. She also can change form into something more terrifying. The ultimate villain is the one that tries to make you feel at home, even when you know you're not.
Time. Okay. All right. Two excellent picks. Gentlemen, you have 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
Okay. So my issue with what you just said was like there's some giant transformation between like the so-called loving mother to the very scary a monster. I disagree. When I watched Coraline like maybe 2 days ago, I was like, the moment I saw it, I was like, this is a very, very fucking creepy person. And it just continued on and on and on. And just that it became slightly more creepy towards him, but also not really, because like I felt like at the start when she was trying to pretend to be so-called loving, it was like way creepier. And at the end, it got a bit cartoonish. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah.
It is a cartoon, but that being said, But honestly, I mean, I think Coraline really feels it. Like when she goes to that other side, of course, it's like a different kind of weird world. Like, of course, she'd be kind of, off-putted by that at first, but then when she meets the other mother, even though she has buttons for eyes and stuff, she still feels at home because the other mother's providing everything that her real mother hasn't been, apparently. And so, that change for Coraline is very real, and for all those other kids that the other mother manipulated. So, honestly, I disagree with you, but but that's okay. I think Gaston, I don't understand where you're coming from, as like Emma Watson is not good, but Gaston elevates it, because I watched this and I found Gaston actually to be the bland one. I don't think Emma Watson is like that great either in the movie, but I think like Gaston is constantly outshined by LeFou, and he's not imposing like he's supposed to be like Gaston, and he just embodies that trope of the pretty boy villain that's just full of himself, and I'm tired of seeing that. I want something more nuanced like the other mother.
That is not true, because even during like the song Gaston, which is like he's a big number, yes, LeFou is there, but you don't really notice him. Instead, my eyes were glued to Gaston because Luke Evans was just there. That he's like, even his physical presence when he's not saying anything, just being in the background, he was great. And then even aside from that, during the Kill the Beast song, like he was so menacing and he was so threatening, and gave a whole other side to Gaston that is missing from the animated movie, which was Menace. Like the animated Gaston never really felt like dangerous. I mean, like he looked a bit dangerous, but he still looked goofy. This Gaston is just purely fucking dangerous.
I don't agree with that one bit. I mean, honestly, he doesn't look imposing at all. And, like I said, he's very dull and boring. And it's just like, it doesn't really feel like he ever, like, it feels like, he says the lines and then people react. and then you're like, wait, what? Why are you reacting like that to this guy? You know, it feels like they took what we know of Gaston from the animated version, and they were like, let's ground it. Let's try to make it more realistic. And I feel like in that,
Nothing is actually a grounder. Like, no, like.
what I'm saying is that I think that's what they're trying to do. And in that, they lose a lot of the imposing nature, charisma, and all that stuff that the animated version actually does have.
The animated version is not imposing at all. The animated version is like, he's like, the way that he looks and the way that he acts is over the top and goofy. But okay, put Gaston at one side. Going back to the other mother from Coraline, yes, it's over the top, and especially because her powers just feel a bit weird. Like, her powers, honestly, I don't really understand what her powers were, because like it felt like just like apparently she can like manipulate like the whole world, like you know, make it like change color and whatnot. But she can't stop the other YB from like pulling Coraline from the prison. Like, that just doesn't make sense. That it feels that her power was just whatever the script wanted her to have at the moment, without any rhyme or reason. It was a bit weird to me.
I mean, honestly, it just felt like she can control pretty much everything. I mean, that's the whole point. Is that she can just, that's the whole thing, is that she's so overpowered that she can manipulate everything, and that's the scary part of it. But the thing about it is she has this deep need to control Coraline. So it's whatever she can do at that moment to try and sway Coraline to her side, but then, you know, try to take away her autonomy, you know, I think is really the scariest thing about the other mother. And the fact that she's done this time and time again with so many other kids, you know, I think going after kids just in general is just what makes her completely terrifying. And the fact that she can change form. I mean, Gaston can do none of this. I don't really feel like he strikes fear really in anybody, to be honest. I mean, he just kind of makes people angry, but he doesn't, like, nobody really is scared of him that much. Really.
Nobody really. I mean, honestly, when actually Gaston turns on the fool and the fear in the fool's eyes, I feel that he was pretty fucking scared. And that's a credit to Luke Evans' performance, because I felt that he really brought what I thought Gaston's was into this, which is like outside he may be just like a very charming aristocratic person, but internally he's a vicious beast. Like the beastly part was what I felt Luke Evans brought into this. Whereas and then going back to the other mother, I felt that you said that the other mother is like you know, controlling of Coraline, but I feel that even that is abandoned after that, like, you know, halfway through, and it wasn't really like explored further.
Regardless,
time. Okay, we're gonna start with Chadwick on this one. Chadwick, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Regardless, Gaston is unoriginal. He's a retread from the brilliant animated version, which is better, but he falls into the trope of the pretty boy villain who is full of himself, like Hans from Frozen, Tom Riddle, Gilderoy Lockhart, and the list goes on. Gaston is also very dull in the movie. LeFou outshines him every time. The other mother is nuanced and scary, subverting our expectation that a mother is supposed to make you safe and comfortable. The other mother has killed children before consuming them and tries to trap Coraline forever, and so buttons into her face. The world, Gaston has no threats like that. The world she's built to fulfill her needs represents a cycle of abuse where she gradually lets out her sinister intentions, but hides them among things that make Coraline feel safe and comfortable. It's an illusion. Gaston is just an asshole. He doesn't have any layers that can make him a better villain. Look at an asshole that tries to control women in real life. That's Gaston. There's nothing special about him. At least the original Gaston is fun. This one isn't. The other mother is a purely brilliant, creative design who strikes fear in our souls. Her desperate need to control Coraline is truly terrifying.
Time. Okay, we're going to move over to Kaiser. Kaiser, you now have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
For all of the other mother being so like, you know, brilliant and so that having such an intricate plot to like trap Coraline, at the end she becomes like every single mad villain ever by just like devolving into a monster and just like having like weird powers that come out of nowhere suddenly, and just like, you know, all geared towards like a giant CGI action film, a climax, not a CGI, but you know what I mean. Meanwhile, for Gaston, he's not really outshined by the fool, because even during their scenes together, the fool is clearly deferential and afraid of him, and Gaston especially is a very good contrast to Belle in that
Well, I found Belle to be very, very meek, but on the inside, she's very strong and actually very, very beautiful. Gaston is the opposite. Outside, he's suave, he's charismatic, but inside, he's a fucking beast. And exemplified Beauty and the Beast, it could have easily been referring to Belle and Gaston.
Okay. Gonna bring in the judges. Good shit.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Kirk, you look ready. Payson, how you doing?
Yeah.
All right, Payson, you can kick this one off.
Yeah. Another solid debate. One really good movie. One not so good movie.
I like both of these.
Fair. Sorry. I won't say which one. I won't say which one I like then. That way we can keep the suspense.
I wonder.
Fair. I went with Chadwick, and the reason I went with Chadwick was I think Chadwick did a better job of explaining why his villain works for what the filmmakers were trying to do. Kaiser was trying to knock down the other mother by saying, "Oh, she just becomes a cartoon at this point. What are her true motives? Like, what makes her interesting?" And Chadwick did a good job of saying, "Well, no, that is what she's just supposed to be, this menace. She's supposed to be this alluring character that just brings kids in and then traps them in and becomes scary." And then I think Chadwick did a really good job of saying, like, while the characters in the movie might be weirdly threatened by Gaston, that effect doesn't translate to the audience, and I do think that is important. So Chadwick does get my points.
Okay. No, I do actually like both these movies. Maggie and I weirdly love the live action Beauty and the Beast. I love the original more, but anything Beauty and the Beast, the live action, the animated, the Broadway, like we love it. And I do agree with Kaiser that I think that Luke Evans as Gaston is a great villain. Coraline's actually low on my Leica list. I'm not a huge fan, but that being said, I went with Chadwick because I think that I agree with Payson. He did a really good job of kind of dismantling Kaiser's argument again. Like, Kaiser had all the right pieces of being like, Luke Evans is charismatic. He makes this character who in the original is just like kind of like, yeah, I'm evil, and like makes it really into a real character. But I felt like Chadwick kind of dismantled that and was just like, yeah, if the characters like say they're imposed, cool, but like it's not coming across. And the way that he described the other mother and kind of went into detail about how like the fact that there isn't much detail and everything is actually what makes it really scary. And I liked, he said there was something I was waiting to hear, and he kind of brought it up towards the end where he was like, this is an original villain that's really creepy and terrifying, and Gaston is unoriginal. It's a remake and it's not as good as the original. And it's like, yeah, okay, fair. So I went with Chadwick. Kirk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, another clean sweep. I also went with Chadwick.
Wow.
Because of a word Chadwick used in nuance, he gave me a lot of that. I think I in these kind of debates, I like, you could say like, oh, they're big and they're strong and they're scary and this and that. But I like when somebody contextualizes what the villain does and kind of like, gets it down to like, it's like bare bones of what makes them scary, why they're so bad, why they're so evil, or whatever they're supposed to be for the argument. And just him talking about how, like what motherhood represents and how this character distorts that and perverts it. I think that really just from the get-go had me, leaning towards Chadwick. Another fight where at the very end during his closing, Kaiser started to put something together when you start talking about the difference between Belle and Gaston, how they're juxtaposed together. If he had brought more of that up in the argument, I think that would have helped a lot. because that would have given me a little more depth on Gaston. But I think Chadwick just had too much depth on his side.
Okay. All right. So Chadwick is up 2-0. So Kaiser needs to hit this next one in order to send it to the fourth question. The category is directors. And the question is, what is the best performance in a David Lynch directed film? Non-fandom, so you guys can't pick Dune. All right. Sorry.
Oh, shit.
I know. Sorry, guys. All right, Chadwick, you're kicking this off. You get 1 minute to open your argument.
Naomi Watts said, I think of my career in two parts, before Mulholland Drive and after. David Lynch took a chance on a relatively unknown actress and got one of the best performances of all time. In Mulholland Drive, Watts plays both the bright-eyed dream character Betty Elms and the tragic real-world character Diane Selwyn. Watts shows so much range with this double performance, and it's beyond any other performance in Lynch's filmography. Some people make their dreams come true in Hollywood, but others find it to be a soul-crushing endeavor. Watts shows both of these experiences. Betty is hopeful, ambitious, naive, kind, and in awe of the place that might make her a star, but Diane is angry, bitter, jealous, desperate, murderous, suicidal, and in despair of the system that chewed her up, spit her out, and stole her best friend and lover. Naomi shows the whole range of human emotion. There's an audition scene where Naomi basically transforms into a different person right before our eyes and wows everyone. It's the best scene of Lynch's career. Betty and Diane seem like separate and distinct characters, both played to perfection by Naomi Watts.
Time. Sounds like I should probably see this fucking movie. Okay. Kaiser, your turn. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I picked Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet. Honestly, even though it's a supporting performance, like he steals the goddamn movie. Like when the moment he appears and just started to do very, very bad things to Isabella Rossellini and started his litany of like farts and just his deranged demeanor. Like he's the character that will stick with you throughout the movie, and you just want to see what fucked up thing he's gonna do next. And honestly, it's a joy to watch. Like the scene where he's serenading to Ben, played by Dean Stockwell, and after he has kidnapped Carl McLaughlin's character, it's so much fun. Like he can just turn on a dime, and he just makes everyone around him so uncomfortable, and makes the whole movie experience so much more fulfilling to watch. It's insane. Watch it if you haven't. Wow.
Okay. Sounds like I should see this fucking movie. Okay. Guys, Lynch is not my strong suit. I've only seen a couple. Guys, 5 minute free form, but one of you starts talking.
I do think you're right. I think Frank Booth is a really fun character. I think Dennis Hopper is really fun in the movie. He definitely is in the running for, one of the better villains in a Lynch film. I mean, you got other ones that are equal, maybe even better. With Willem Dafoe and Wild at Heart. And then you also have, don't forget, Leland Palmer and Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. I think those are some of the really good villains. But if we're talking about performances, I don't think you can have Dennis Hopper hold a candle to what Naomi Watts gives us. When there's a scene towards the end of the movie where Naomi has to react to news that her lover is getting married, and she has basically stolen her career, and all she has to do is sit there and react to this news, and she basically gets destroyed in this moment. She produces tears. She does everything to just show that she's being physically destroyed. And at the end of that scene, if you watched it behind the scenes, everyone was applauding Naomi for that scene.
Yeah. What I would say in response to, yes, Naomi Watts does people in Mulholland Drive, but honestly, my preference is that I felt that one was much more stronger than the other one. Like I felt that as Diane it was great, and it was very, very hard to watch. But her performances as the naive Betty, I felt like a lot of the time it was a bit too naive for me. Like you say, ambitious and naive, and yes, she was ambitious, but that's only really towards the end of that performance. Like most of the performance of her as Betty, I felt it felt a bit generic in a sense, like it's just like the standard aspiring actress performance that I think we have seen before and what we will see a lot after.
I don't think you could ever call what Naomi Watts does in Mulholland Drive generic. I mean, yeah, Betty might be a little too naive, but then watch that be juxtaposed, not just to Diane's, the stuff Diane gives us, but when she goes into that audition scene and just basically turns into another person where she's, Betty is naive. And then when she's playing the part, she becomes the most confident, sexual, demanding, and in control person, in the room. And it wows all of the producers, and they're like, who's this woman? So yeah, I mean, I feel like the juxtaposition of those two things shows just the power that Naomi Watts has in this performance.
I mean, not gonna lie, during that audition scene, honestly, what I felt more than what Naomi Watts was like, as much as Naomi was really good in the scene, what I felt in the scene was more how slimy like those producers and the movie and the movie makers are. Like, I felt the supporting cast around her actually elevates her performance a lot by being sleazy. Meanwhile, like most of the people acting around Dennis Hopper in a Blue River, they are just like mindless goons and people
that's not true at all.
He is a center of attention and he's a villain. Like, he retroactively makes the lead characters less interesting because they're so bland in comparison to him.
No. I mean, I can't let you sit there and say that. I mean, I understand what you're going for. Dennis Hopper is a force. I can't disagree with that. But everyone around him is incredible. I mean, it's one of Kyle MacLachlan's first performances. It's a coming of age performance. He's incredible. And then you have Isabella Rossellini gives a heartbreaking performance. She's kind of like Diane Selwyn a little bit in Mulholland Drive, but it's kind of like half of her performance where Naomi Watts is giving us the full body performance, like every single emotion, that you can think of, Naomi Watts gives us in Mulholland Drive. And you know how she's a scream queen now, like The Ring and everything else. It's because in Mulholland Drive, she gives us also that great horror performance of just being completely terrified at what her life has become.
What I'll say the last thing in response to Mulholland Drive is, even though I feel that Naomi Watts gave a really good performance, I honestly felt that David Lynch might doing her a disservice because honestly, like a lot of her individual scenes, when you watch them together, they are a bit weird in that I don't really know what they are leading to, and ultimately it feels a bit disjointed. Even towards the end of the dinner party scene, we just randomly cuts to her like I think killing someone. That was weird as fuck.
I mean, yeah, you can talk about the construction of David Lynch's film. He's very abstract. He has things out of order. It's kind of Pulp Fiction-y and stuff like that. But we're not talking about the movie. We're talking about the performances. And Dennis Hopper's not capable of giving us what we got from Naomi Watts. Honestly, what Dennis Hopper gives us kind of feels like what he gives us in the Super Mario Brothers movie. It's that same type of just screaming all the time and over the topness.
I am. All right. We are going to start with Kaiser on this one. Kaiser, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Yeah, Chadwick was talking nonsense. Like, fucking comparing Dennis Hopper in Super Mario Brothers to Blue River is a fucking insult, and that's a stupid thing to say. And yes, then Dennis Hopper, you say that Dennis Hopper can't do what Naomi Watts does. Naomi Watts at no point in Mulholland Drive commanded the screen as effectively as Frank Booth did in the entirety of Blue River when he's on the screen. Like, Frankfurt is a force of nature. He does have some good supporting pieces like Isabella Rossellini, but come on, when he's there, he is the one that you focus on. He does a lot of fucked up things that in a movie that will make you shocked. Naomi Watts ultimately, yes, David Lynch, and you say David Lynch's directing, it did affect the movie because it took away from her performance, especially towards the end of the movie, where after that incredible dinner scene, he just suddenly goes nowhere. That is a detriment to her performance.
Time. Okay. We're going to move over to Chadwick. Chadwick, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I've already described multiple times when Naomi Watts commanded the screen and had the attention all on her. I mean, that's the meta-ness of the movie, is that she wants the attention in both, but in one she can get it and one she can't, and in both she portrays very different kinds of emotion. It's a very wide-ranged performance with so much in her arsenal that I'm just like, how did she do both of these things so well and give us the whole human range of emotions that Dennis Hopper just isn't capable of? I mean, you say he commands the screen. Yeah, I mean, he's a crazy piece of shit in the movie. He does a lot of really crazy shit, but that's what the character does. The performance isn't as, commanding as Kaiser would like you to believe. It's really just mixed in with a lot of great performances in Blue Velvet. I mean, go figure. Blue Velvet is fucking fantastic movie. So is Mulholland Drive. A lot of great performances in Mulholland Drive, but the one that really commands the screen is Naomi Watts.
Done. Sounds like I need to see both of these fucking movies. Okay.
Is Kirk going first on this one?
That's correct.
Oh boy, he's gonna be able to say as
Chad, you better take back the freaking Super Mario Brothers shit. I swear.
I don't take it back.
I swear to God.
They're similar. I don't know.
Hold on, I'm thinking.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
This is real. I love this show sometimes.
All right, Kirk, go ahead.
Okay. There was a match recently that I judged. There's a question where I had very strong personal opinions on one of the answers. And I kind of regretted my vote because I think I just went too strong in the other direction because of my personal feelings. And I wanted to make sure I did this time because I have very personal opinions about this. I think Naomi Watts is incredibly overrated in Mulholland Drive. So I needed Kaiser, but I needed Kaiser to tell me that. I needed Kaiser to give me what was there to make that argument for me. And I think he did it. I gave him the point. I think the fact that he hit the fact that I think is 100% true that David Lynch's direction is a detriment to her. I think David Lynch does this thing where he makes a lot of times he'll make his actors do this kind of generic old Hollywood performance over the top, and it just doesn't work. And I feel that Frank Booth does, and I think it's Chad was trying to say it's the character, but I think you don't have that character without Dennis Hopper's performance. When I think about Blue Velvet, I think about Frank Booth. When I think about Mulholland Drive, there's a lot of other things I think about besides this performance. So I think Kaiser gave me enough to win me over on this.
Okay, Payson, your thoughts?
Yeah, this was easily for me the best debate of the night. I love both of these movies. If you asked me to name my top 100 favorite performances, I would genuinely put both of these in there. These are the top two correct picks, and I think they were argued very well. I think this came down to I think both players had solid knocks on the other one. For me, it came down to who painted the best picture on who is doing the most and who presents their performance in the best way. And I think Chadwick did a better job of explaining why Watts is so effective in Mulholland Drive with the dual performance, with the way how she just how she becomes two characters, how you very clearly can see who the differences between Betty and Diane. I do love Frank Booth, and I love Dennis Hopper and Blue Velvet. I think Kaiser did a very good job. Chadwick was saying there were other villains that Kaiser could have picked. Respectfully, I think Dennis Hopper is leagues above those other ones, even though they are good. But I just think I didn't hear enough from Kaiser aside from Dennis Hopper, the powder keg in this movie, which he is, and he's incredible in it. I just heard more from Chadwick.
Okay. Yeah, as I've alluded to, or flat out said, I've never seen either of these movies, but I've heard a lot about both of them, and about both of the performances. Though I didn't know Naomi Watts was two characters in Mulholland Drive, so that's very funny. So I will have to watch the films, but yeah, I agree with Payson. I was listening to the arguments and not having the knowledge that like Kirk and Payson have, not that went into their choices at all, but not having that when Chadwick was like, dude, here's all these other better villains you could have picked. I was like, why didn't Kaiser pick those? And Kaiser spent, I was worried. Kaiser got into the performance when Chadwick kind of challenged him, but Kaiser spent his whole opening minute, really talking about the character, not really bringing up the performance. And I thought Chadwick did a good job of pointing out, like, we're talking about the performance. Kaiser then kind of jumped on the performance train, but I didn't quite hear enough. And I think the moment, like, I was on Chadwick's side for most of it, but what really swung me where I was like, yeah, I think I'm giving this to Chadwick, was Kaiser kind of said that, everyone around Dennis Hopper wasn't really doing anything. And Chadwick was like, I'm sorry, fucking what? And like went on like a rampage about like all the other actors in the movie that are doing as good, if not better, than Hopper. And then so by default, like if there were better picks in his own movie, like I kind of felt like that was a really strong hit for Chadwick. So I went with Chadwick, which means your winner by way of knockout is Chadwick Webb. Wasn't Kaiser. Another match. Again, good arguments made. I think that you've gotten a little unlucky. I think, and you've had good arguments in all of your fights, but unfortunately, Chadwick was on a mission today. It seemed like to get another win. What were your thoughts immediately coming out of this?
I mean, I have no complaints. Like from what is very apparent that Chadwick prepared for these questions a lot more thoroughly than I had, which is honestly like it's a credit to him. Like I prepared for this question like liberally by like trying to watch the movies that I have never seen, which honestly, so I watched like Coraline, I watched Blue Pepper, and I only got to like half of Mulholland Drive, but it is like the back half, so I felt that it was still a very worthwhile match. I watched some good movies, which is good.
Yeah, Kaiser, this does end your season in Fanzone debate, but
sure.
Assuming you would like to return, which we would love to have you return, I think next season you'll definitely get the win on the record. And is there anybody that you really want to like smack around or just talk movies with? What are you thinking?
Who else is still playing? Nazario.
That would be fun.
That would be very funny. That would be very funny. Kaiser, congrats on a match well played. We will see you next year. As we bring in our winner, Chadwick. It wasn't quite a perfect game. Kirk kind of ruined that for you. But no, I'm just kidding. But it was a great match. Another great performance. Maybe you're prepping yourself up for a really great run when we see you next. So what are we thinking? Or continuing this great run, I guess is really what it should say. So what are your immediate thoughts coming out of this?
Immediate thoughts is Heineken. Fuck that shit. Pabst Blue Ribbon. There you go. No, I mean, no shade to Kirk. I love, kind of hot takes like that. That's kind of fun. And honestly, I feel like Kaiser did a really good job. Like, when you're debating someone, especially like someone like Kaiser, who's kind of, really coming at you, because, not a lot of people actually like fizzle out, but like Kaiser is really coming at me. And so, I don't feel like it's like one-sided. And then when I start to get a lot of votes, I'm like, oh, I'm doing a really good job. Let's keep this up. And hopefully it doesn't blow up in my face during like one of these questions. So I'm glad that, it went my way and in such a big way. It feels kind of like the last match where I was in control a lot of it. And that all does feel really good, but you never know like what the judges are thinking about, certain things, especially like, with that last David Lynch one, because I had a whole closing write up and I abandoned it just to kind of, pick at like a lot of things Kaiser was talking about. And then I was just like, well, I abandoned that. Hopefully that wasn't a mistake. And it looks like it all kind of worked out in my favor. And I am sad that I did not get to the Pixar question because my wife was like, you would have made all the judges cry with talking about Toy Story 3. So maybe another time.
Yeah, maybe another time indeed. Chadwick, really great match. This does also end your season, but it ends your season on a high note where next season in the first act, you're going to come in and more than likely be in a title picture. So really phenomenal stuff. 2 KOs this year, 2 really excellent matches. Who do you want to, because right now you're 2-3. So you started off 0-3. Now you're 2-3. So, and with knockouts. So it's a really impressive turn of pace. So now to get back up to 500, you're going to have to place probably someone would pretty good. Not that Kaiser and Will weren't good, because they are, but
yeah.
What are your thoughts as someone who you want to fight to get to that spot?
Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to think of like people who are around like, my thing. I mean, I've in another league, I've been in like a title picture and stuff before, and it just gets harder, when you debate better and better people, and it's just who've been doing it for a very long time. So not really looking forward to that, but the challenge will be fun. As far as like who, I don't want to name like a bunch of really good names. Like I've never debated like Rue before. That could be really fun, but it would be like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, probably. So, I don't know if we'll make it up to like the, the Kirks and the Bryans and stuff like that. But, maybe one day, and that could be really fun. But yeah, I don't know names right now to throw out. I'm trying to think like who's on the roster, but, someone around my level to, that's a challenge, but maybe not, too much of a challenge.
Fair enough, Chadwick. Congrats on a great season and a great match. We'll see you next year.
Thank you.
Let's get some final thoughts from the judges. Payson, we'll start with you. What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think this really just shows Chadwick is becoming a sneaky good player. I've seen him improve a lot over these last 2 matches. I think we could all tell Kaiser maybe feeling just a little under the weather, just like health-wise, and props to him for showing up. But yeah, I think Chadwick really showed up today in a really impressive way. And yeah, Heineken, fuck that shit.
Kirk, your final thoughts.
You could tell Kaiser wasn't 100%, and like I mentioned a couple times, I think he was bringing together some really good pieces. He just really couldn't cement them. If he was feeling better, that might have been a different story. But I think the story here is Chadwick, and he's really improving as a player. And I'm really excited to see it. I see the change in his game, the work he's putting in. What I really liked that he said is that he had a closing written out, and he at the last minute was willing to abandon it. That shows really good instincts to me, and I think that's a really good, because a lot of people prep and they stick to that no matter what. The fact that he's willing to he preps but he's flexible, I think is a really good sign. I'm hoping he gets up. I want to see him up and kind of start playing that next echelon of players. The Kastners, the Jacobys, the Nazarios. I want to see him up in that echelon, and maybe we have a new contender on our hands. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to do it for us today at Fanzone Debate. Thank you so much to Kaiser and Chadwick, Kirk and Payson. Thank you to everyone else who makes this shindig run. Your Nicks, your Bryans, your Marks. We love you. Next week, we got another exciting one in the title picture. We've got Alex Martinez taking on Adelaide Spence. Both underrated players, both playing really well right now. We'll see that one next week. Can't wait to see it. Until then, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
There we go. Thanks a lot. Come again.
Hey, I won't forget what you've done for me here today.
I would prefer that you do.